I went to Spain in early June. I started in Madrid and I went to Sitges and then came back home. What was interesting is that about halfway through the trip, I began to have these sweats that would break out at any time, and it would be just a full body sweat. And it would go away, and I checked my temperature, and I didn't have a fever, and I thought it was kind of strange. I also had a really sore throat that developed while I was gone. When I got back, came to my doctor and saw him, I realized it was actually strep throat. So I had a couple of issues while I was in Spain that just seemed like happenstance. When I returned after the 10-day trip, the first night I got back home about 8 o'clock, been traveling for 23 hours. I was changing my clothes, getting ready for bed, and I looked down and I saw that I had lesions, which was a nightmare. And fortunately, I was able to get into my doctor the next day, who looked at these and said, geez, these are really atypical. And so he began doing a lot of tests for anything that would mirror the symptoms. Now, the symptoms I had at that point in time were the lesions, and the following morning after I noticed the lesions, before I saw my doctor that afternoon, I began to have severe swelling in my lymph nodes. So I knew something was wrong, I just didn't know what. And we ran a series of tests within Eisenhower, and everything came back negative. And then, as a measure to make sure that there's not another lab who could pick something up that Lab A could have missed, we retested outside Eisenhower with another lab, and everything came back negative. What I didn't know at the time was that while I was in Madrid, there had been a breakout with about 185 cases that week that I was there. So a couple to 3 days after all of this began and all of the tests were going on, my doctor also wanted me to see a dermatologist. And at that point, when we saw a lot of negatives coming back, I began to think potentially that this could be monkeypox. But, it's so rare that it's hard to imagine that you potentially could be one out of, only 500 cases in the United States thus far. When I saw the dermatologist and I had expressed, hey, I'm concerned this could be monkeypox, he said, monkeypox is overrated, which was not only a very insincere and immature reaction, as it turned out, we knew he was dead wrong. He also did some more swabbing, and again, nothing came back positive. So after I saw the derm, I asked my doctor again on what would have been about day 4 or 5, what he's thinking, and he said, I'm talking to the county. At that point, I realized that he too felt this potentially could be monkeypox. And the county did not respond for a full 24 hours. They didn't even acknowledge a phone call or an email in regards to my case. And going into about day 5 was the worst day for me. So not only did I have the lesions, did I have the swelling and the sore throat, but I had the headache, I had the body ache, I had night sweats that were so bad that certain nights I literally had to go sleep in my spare bedroom because my sheets were soaked as if they were in a pool.